Hello and welcome to Following On. I'm Jon Norman alongside Steve Harmison, looking back at England's 8-wicket win over New Zealand here at the Hagley Oval. It ended amid a flurry of hook shots and pulls and a couple of cuts. Jacob Bethel hitting the winning runs on debut, and at the same time reaching 50 for the first time in Test cricket, alongside Ben Duckett, making sure that the run chase was accomplished in quick time, just taking 12.4 overs to England to knock off the 104 runs that they needed, losing Zach Crawley for 1 and Duckett for 27 along the way. Joe Root plucking a stump out of the ground and handing it to Bethell to make sure that he has a memento from a momentous Test match. In truth, the destination of this Test match probably decided on day 2, when New Zealand dropped 6 catches. But that's not to say there wasn't moments of intrigue and interest and real quality, actually, over the course of day 3 and towards the halfway stage of this afternoon session here on day 4. Earlier in the morning, Daryl Mitchell batted past the customary lunchtime of 1 o'clock. It was 18 minutes past 1 when the final New Zealand wicket fell. It was he trying to hit Brydon Carse down the ground, and he departed. Top score of 84 for the innings, given good support by William O'Rourke, who batted for 65 minutes for his 39 ball 5. There wasn't a lot else though. Nathan Smith, LBW Carse, as was Matt Henry, Tim Southey, 2 big sixes and out, as is his wont. And here we are, Steve Harmison, at the end of a Test match that has actually been quite one-sided ever since England recovered for when they were 71 for 4. It's pretty been one-way traffic.
Yeah, one-way traffic, largely down to the fact that the chances that New Zealand created, they didn't make England pay. 71 for 4 could easily have been England 200 all out. And as it went on, it was 499. That gives me, John, I think, a huge amount of encouragement that this series is still hugely alive, because they created the chances, they just didn't take them. New Zealand aren't a bad side. New Zealand bowlers bowl really, really well. But if you're going to give the chances that you give to England, England will make you pay, because they score quickly, they score all around the ground, and they really, really put bowlers under pressure. And when it came with the ball, they've got something now, a little bit of X factor now, that when that flat area comes in 20 overs or 25 overs, a holding pattern in the game, waiting for either a reverse swing or towards the second new ball, England can hit the pitch hard and create chances. Now they've got somebody like Brydon Carse and obviously Gus Atkinson. So, yep, I think England were, I wouldn't say they were brilliant, but I think what they did was they capitalised on mistakes made by the opposition, something that has happened to England many, many times in the recent past under McCullum and Stokes. It's normally, we sit here, if England either lose, it's largely down to the fact that mistakes have been made in this England side and the opposition have capitalised. This time it was shoe was on the other foot. So they were 71 for 4, but I'd say Brooke, Pope, Stokes especially in that first innings, really took advantage of some sloppy work from New Zealand.
The one dark spot from England occurred midway through Ben Stokes' 7th over. He didn't complete it. Gus Atkinson finished up the last 3 deliveries. We didn't see Stokes bowl again, but he did stay on the field. We are hopefully going to hear an update about what went on. We weren't sure whether it was a knee or hamstring, calf, whatever it was. Wasn't serious enough to take him from the field, but question marks about whether he's going to be bowling over the course of the next 2 Test matches.
Yeah, it's the bowling bit that's a worry, because it's a balance to the side. I think his leg will have to be broken for him to steer off the field, and as long as he's got mobility to get to the other end and back when it comes to the running point of view between the wickets, then I'm sure Ben Stokes will want to play, and he will play. The balance of the side then becomes affected, because I don't think you can go in with just 3 seamers and Shoaib Bashir as the spin option. So whether England decide that they're going to play 4 quicks, whether England decide they're going to play 1 less batter, Who knows? But at this minute in time, let's wait and hear from Ben. I'm sure we will, because in the press conference afterwards, Ben will have to speak because he's the captain. And when we do hear him speak, I'm sure he'll make it a lot clearer where it's a niggle, still a little bit of pain, or it's something a little bit more serious. If it's a serious, then he doesn't bowl. If it's just a niggle, then a few days rest, which an extra day of just getting, might prove the world of good for England going forward.
It's not often a guy scores 171 in a test match and isn't named player of the match. But I think we all understand why Harry Brook is not player of the match. It's Brydon Carse, and he's just caught up with talkSport's very own Scott Taylor.
Brydon, first 10-wicket haul in Test cricket, first 5-wicket haul in Test cricket, and a Test match win. Doesn't get any better, does it?
Yeah, of course. Look, an amazing couple of days, and to top it off today with getting a 10 for and winning, an amazing feeling and very proud.
And how special was it to do it with a group that you know so well as well, like the likes of Ben and stuff like that?
100%. Yeah, obviously, Stokesy, I've known him now for a long time through Durham, and to be able to play and bowl with him in tandem for England in a Test match win is an amazing feeling.
And you seem to enjoy the grind of not only pitching it up, but then going to the bouncer plan when needed. Yeah,
of course, we had different plans throughout the game. Obviously, the surface had a bit more bounce and carry, so suited my style of bowling a bit more, and things paid off. At times it was probably it felt like a hard slog, but I got the rewards in the end.
And just tell us what you've done over the last sort of 6 months breaking into the England side. What have you worked on to improve as a bowler?
Yeah, look, I think I've worked hard on my fitness, throughout the summer, and then I had a good block of cricket in September with England and some one-day stuff, which led me nicely into Pakistan, and then a couple of weeks off. My body's felt good and strong, and my rhythm in my bowling has clicked over the last couple of months, and long may it continue.
How important has the work of Neil Killeen been, not only with England, he's worked with you at Durham for a long time, how important has someone like him been?
Yeah, look, Killer I've known for 10 years now, and I've worked with him from a young age, 18, 19, so he knows my bowling inside out, and he's always there as a sounding board. A lot of credit to the work that I've done with Killer over the last 10 years, and as well, with Graham Onions over the last year at Durham.
I know it's important not to look too far ahead, but you seem to relish playing on these dry, flat surfaces. So how excited are you for what's to come, not only in a couple of weeks, but in the next 12 months or so?
Of course, we've still got 2 big games this series, and we'll see what the surfaces are like going forward. And then obviously, into the new year, and there's a lot of exciting cricket and series to come up.
Well played today.
Cheers, thank you.
Top man.
Thank you.
Brydon Carse, player of the match in his 3rd Test match, a 10 for, a 5 for. And an all-round impressive display from a guy that you've been a big fan of for a number of years.
Yeah, I've been a big fan, 4 or 5 years now, just watching his development and grow up. Every time he seems to go forward by a step, he has 2 steps back because of injury. He's a big, strong boy, a little bit like Liam Plunkett. He's probably more suited on flatter wickets rather than the sort of pitch-up traditional English wickets. You mentioned there about Jacob Bethel and his numbers with the bat in county cricket. I mean, Brydon Carse's numbers are very modest when it comes to first-class cricket, but that's on these nibbling green surfaces in England early season or back end of the season. When you get on a flat one, this guy's got a big heart. He runs in, hits the deck hard, and he's really come to the party for his team. And I said before we came out here, the likes of Carse and Potts going forward with 10 Test matches against us, India and Australia coming up. They need what you would say a come to the party and coming of age moment, and a Gus Atkinson last summer type series or performance, and he's certainly done that this week. Now everybody around the world knows Brydon Carse. Everybody around the world knows what Brydon Carse's characteristics are and what his strengths are with the ball, and that's great for England. It's great for England. With what England have got coming up and the players they've got injured, just enhances the pool of bowlers to pick from on flat wickets. Whenever you hear McCullum and Stokes, and especially Rob Key, talk about selection and we're going for the fast bowler, this is the bowlers we're looking for. I mean, these are the reasons why we come to a place like the Hagley Oval on a pitch which is relatively flat in international cricket against good players, 78 mile an hour and 80 to 83 mile an hour, something a lot of the times just doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. Works in England, not a problem at all. You know, 5 for a green seamer, you know, in a county first division game or a second division game. I mean, they don't work in international cricket. The likes of Brydon Carse, Josh Tongue, big tall bowlers that run up, Jamie Overton that run up, and hit the deck hard and get something out of flat surfaces. That's what you need. You need at least one, possibly two of them, and that's what he's shown in this game this week. So numbers again. Congratulations to the selection panel for identifying what is needed in international cricket, not what is needed in first class cricket. County stuff can look after itself. In international cricket, go on characteristics of what your skill sets of players got. And the skill sets that Brydon Carse has got is very, very influential in international cricket on flat pitches because of his release point, his pace, his heart, and he's now been rewarded with 10 wickets in a match and a player of the match in the first test match of a series.
Where do New Zealand go from here then? It's easy to say take your catches, but there will be pressure. There always is pressure when a team loses to change things around. But if you assume that they will take those catches next time, I mean, essentially they've taken 20 wickets, 12 wickets and 8 drops. They've taken 20 wickets. If they'd taken the catches, the two teams would have been very even at the halfway stage, and the game would have been very, very different. So if we assume that they will feel better, they can't feel worse in Wellington, are they running the risk of pressing P for panic and making wide-scale changes and bringing in a spinner, getting rid of a wicket-keeper or an opener that's actually not batted that badly in the last few test matches? What's your reading?
Well, my take on New Zealand would be, again, the P for panic button. You can't press it. I wouldn't press it. I think if all 4 seamers are fit and ready for Wellington, I'd send them out again. And that will raise a few eyebrows with Tim Southee. I'd play him in the next test match. I think he gives you an element of control. You know, look, what England did to him in this one. I mean, England don't do that first innings. I mean, 104 to win. England don't do that to Tim Southee in the first inning. They do it in the second innings because they've got a bit of a license. I thought Will O'Rourke was excellent. I thought Nathan Smith was very, very good. Matt Henry was Matt Henry. You know you're going to get out of Matt Henry. You're right. They created 20 chances. The batting would worry me. Whether you go with Will Young at the top of the order and make the call on possibly Conway, or do you make the call on the wicketkeeper and Latham take the gloves? That's a big ask. That's a big ask, a captain against this England side when a ball is flying all over the place to keep wicket at the same time as well. That would be a big ask. I remember all them years ago, and I keep going back to this one series. You go back to 2005, we lost at Lords and we got battered at Lords. Glenn McGrath battered us at Lords, but we took 20 wickets, and we knew going into Edgbaston, we just had to make little subtle changes, scoring quicker, taking our chances, scoring quicker, and we'll be able to compete because we took 20 wickets at Lords. You look at this New Zealand team, if they go to the Wellington with this same team, play the same way and take their chances, it's a different story altogether. So you're right, don't press the P for panic button. I'm not sure I'd play Santner, especially going 3 seamers and 1 spinner, because this England team on a smaller ground, the Basin's a smaller ground, they'll try and belt him out of the park. He's used to people coming at him because he's a one-day bowler. But if you're going to play Santner, you might have to leave Phillips out. I'd play 4 seamers if I was New Zealand. I'd want 4 seam options, and the 4 seam options that have bowled here this week actually did a really, really good job. So I'd be loath to drop any of them. I'd just have one eye on 3-4-8 in the first innings. People were saying that's par. I wasn't so sure. I think the first innings total should have started with a 4, and I think that's where that and drop catches has possibly let New Zealand down.
Ben Stokes has just spoken in the post-match presentation, and Neil Manthorp's been across it. He's just come over and said that when asked about the injury or the decision not to complete an over, it's about management, workload management. He didn't want to. He felt he'd bowled enough overs, and essentially, just it was precautionary rather than anything. And he says there's absolutely no problem for for the next 2 Test matches. I would still say there's a little doubt. I mean, he did stop halfway through an over. I mean, we know Ben. I don't know. I mean, that's what he's just said, so we'll wait and see. But obviously that's one we'll keep an eye on here on talkSport 2 and on the talkSport Cricket YouTube channel over the next few days. But obviously there is an England side with Ben Stokes in it, batting and bowling. And there's an England side with either out Ben Stokes or with half of Ben Stokes. And it's a very different beast.
It is a different beast. You know, the balance of the side is huge, and be interesting, you know, them saying that you just walk off halfway through the over. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. I don't think you have to complete the over. I'm normally across the laws of the game, John. You might know better than me, but to complete the over, you don't have to complete the over. You can walk off. If you can't, then I'm sure the umpires will have something to say about him just walking off mid-over and getting somebody else to finish it. But I hope that's true. I suspect it's not. I suspect there is a little niggle in there, and we'll see what happens when we get to Wellington. But if he is saying that he's going to be all right, then that's good news for England. Better news for Jacob Bethel, because I feared a little bit that if Ben can't bowl and take full part in the bowling first and second innings, then all of a sudden you're running the risk of, you know, balance of side, bringing another bowler in and a batter has to drop out. And as well as he's played in the second innings, it probably would be Jacob Bethel. So fingers crossed. You know, we get a 3/4 fit Ben Stokes to bowl enough overs to keep that full seamer spot up at Wellington, and Jacob Bethel stays in the side.
Stokes said he hurt his back diving for a ball. More body management. Should be good to go for Wellington. That's from Ollie Hunter, former talkSport producer of note, part of the talkSport cricket team and family. So, okay, we'll move on from that. We haven't spoken about Harry Brook, of course. He top scored 171. Again, there was a few murmurs about him, wasn't there, during the summer, about the pace in which he started his innings. It just seemed a little bit too high tempo. He was dropped on 18. He was dropped on numerous scores, actually. But boy, has he got a record here in New Zealand.
Oh. I mean, Nathan Smith standing right in front of us at this moment in time. He another one, had a very, very impressive debut. I'm not sure the bowlers are really looking forward to getting to Harry Brook at Wellington, because last time he was there, he got 180. So he does love, as much as Daryl Mitchell, another one who's standing right in front of us, he loves batting against England. Harry Brook goes big when he comes to, you know, this part of the world. He was excellent. You know, you can only give chances. You can't catch them as well. And unfortunately for New Zealand, dropping a player like Harry Brook once is criminal. Dropping him 5 times. I mean, he looked to the heavens once and started smiling and giggling, and I think that was the 3rd time, never mind the 4th and 5th. So, no, he was all round the ground. He was good. He was strong. He came out to bat when England were 45 for 3 and under real pressure. He took the pressure in, absorbed it, along with Ollie Pope, and then with Ben Stokes, took England to a score which 499 didn't flatter them, because I think, you know, the boundary count was up, and it's just brilliant watching when they're on, this England team. It's brilliant to watch, and none more so than Harry Brook when he does get going and he gets into boundary mode. Like he said on interview at the end of, I think, of day 2, he enjoys that and he relishes the fact that he's in good fettle. And when he does hit the boundaries, he's devastating.
We're being greeted to a wholesome scene, aren't we, here in the commentary box, Harmy, because we're just by the walkway to the ground, the sight screen to the right of us, and then our comms box. And some of the New Zealand players have just come over, and disappointed, obviously, to have lost the game, but they've been joined by their families. There's Matt Henry with his wife and 2 kids, one of which was he missed the first test at the start of last year. For the birth of his youngest. William O'Rourke has just had a photo taken with someone I assume is his mum, I assume is his dad, and I assume is his brother. And Nathan Smith has had a photo taken with his family members and also, I guess, his partner as well. So, you know, it's a beautiful scene here at Hagley Oval. It's not gone New Zealand's way, but I think you're absolutely right. I think these 2 sides, we made point of making it at the start of the series. They're very close, actually. And so I think we can expect a competitive second test and a competitive third. Daryl Mitchell, I think it's Daryl Mitchell, has been speaking with Scott Taylor. Let's hear what he had to say.
Daryl Mitchell, fine effort by yourself today, but ultimately on the losing side. Your thoughts on the overall test match?
Oh, look, obviously disappointing to not get across the line, and I thought we put ourselves in positions to win this test match throughout, and yeah, we all know probably what cost us in the end. So yeah, look forward to a couple of days off now and preparing to get down to the basin, which is where we love playing test cricket as well.
I know you want to keep level, but I guess it's a match of frustrations. You lose the toss, you sent in, you find yourself 199 for 3 in a really good spot there.
Yeah, look, I think here at Hagley, batting first, if you get put in on a greenish wicket, you take 350, although we would love a lot more. And yeah, look, I thought we bowled well in patches and built some pressure, and we created chances, and yeah, when we couldn't quite grab them, which is disappointing, and that's probably yeah, where the game, I guess, lies.
Yeah, 71 for 4 and then consecutive 150 run stands. Credit to England, they took those chances that were given to them. The catching, no one does it deliberately, but it's hard to ignore, isn't it, when these 8 chances go down?
Yeah, look, it's obviously not what we're trying to do, and we put a lot of work in off the field to try and take those chances, and look, I trust the guys that will get in there, and for us it's that attitude piece. You know, guys are throwing themselves around and trying to create those chances, and hopefully, well, I'm sure the next game they will stick.
Is it too easy to say those catches do change the match, that it's a completely different contest if you hold maybe 3/4 of them?
Oh, look, you never know with this wonderful game that we play, but yeah, you got to control the things that you can control, and those are definitely one of them. And yeah, look, something we pride ourselves on as Black Caps is our attitude in the field, and I can't fault the efforts. It's just the execution.
It did provide them a first innings lead of 151. Was that scoreboard pressure on a good surface, you know, hard to ignore, because you know they came at you, they were pretty accurate, weren't they, in that second effort with the ball?
Yeah, I thought they built pressure and they banged away in a length of hard periods, and they also are very clear with how they wanted to bowl to guys, and we always know starting out here is always a challenge. It can nibble around, and with the extra bounce it can be challenging, and yeah, our theme was we wanted to create partnerships like we did in the first innings and try and extend those, and we just weren't able to do it for long enough, and here we are now.
Lovely partnership with Will at the end, ultimately losing calls, but from an individual perspective, you're happy with that innings yourself, reaching into the 80s?
Oh, look, for me it's just trying to extend the game as long as we could and try to give us a total to bowl at. We also know it's a 3-match test series, and time in their legs can only help us later on in the test series as well. So it was about trying to, I guess, prolong that innings and keep trying to show the character that we pride ourselves on as Black Caps, and keep trying to fight to the very end, because, you know, us as Kiwis, it's something that we want to keep trying to do.
Lastly, 8 wickets sounds convincing. Not much between these two sides. Is that your ultimate feeling?
Yeah, look, the old cliche, we'll take a lot of positives from this test and know that we were right in it if it wasn't for a key thing. So, yeah, look, we'll get a couple of days now to process what happened and be ready to go at the Basin in front of what will be an awesome crowd, and we love Test cricket at the Basin. It's pretty cool.
I appreciate your time. See you in Wellington.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, we love Test cricket at the Basin as well, don't we? It's a terrific ground, steeped in history. It's, I suppose, if you've never been to this part of the world, it's their version of Lord's, really, isn't it? It's a great ground, and boy, did we have an amazing Test match when we were there at the start of 2023. These two sides have got good bowlers. I think, obviously, the tail for England is so strong, with Atkinson coming in, followed by Carse at 9 and 10. That's a clear difference between the two teams. But let's not forget, Zach Crawley struggled at the top of the order in both innings. Jacob Bethel, if he does play, it's one thing to come out here and play the shots he did, and credit to him. It's brilliant to watch. But it's tough in first innings when you're supposed to be out there setting up a game rather than finishing it off. And New Zealand will be mindful of that. Ollie Pope played wonderfully well for his 77, kept well behind the stumps, and he's once again sorted out a problem for England. But New Zealand will feel that they can put him under pressure. They've got the bowlers to do it. And maybe they've got players to come in as well. Tom Blundell's just come over here as well. He's got his long socks on and he's playing with his kids as well. Quite a wholesome scene, which continues all the way round past the Sir Richard Hadley Pavilion, where both sets of players are hanging around and just signing some autographs for the hundreds of fans who've stuck around here at the Hagley Oval. It's a really a very pretty picture, and it's a nice way to end a Test match, which has been fought pretty fiercely, actually, although always on the right side of where you want to be.
You'd argue it's been the perfect Test match. The Wickets being a good cricket pitch, a really good cricket pitch. The crowd has been excellent. Throughout the whole 4 days, the crowd has been excellent, respectful, enjoyed it. The sunshine and in the afternoons, a couple of colder mornings. All the players that have been on the boundary have jumped over the fence and signed autographs. This time, there's a massive, great big line of fans waiting for selfies and signatures from their heroes. And they haven't been disappointed. The New Zealand players went down the line first. England players are now making their way down. Harry Brooks on his way back, along with Matt Potts, I think, and Joe Bashir. I can see Joe Root. And there's a huge congregation around Joe Root trying to get his signature. Ollie Pope's not far behind him. Jacob Bethel now got his pads off because he's in there as well, having just done a little bit of a press conference. But what I will say, John, going into Wellington, if I go to Wellington and you do the toss and both captains say unchanged sides, I would not be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised. And I think listening to Daryl Mitchell there, he didn't want to see it, did he? He didn't want to see it. He knew exactly what it was. It was the drop catches that's cost New Zealand this game. But I still think both sides, with bat and with ball, they've all got suspect and vulnerable areas. They've all got strengths and the weaknesses they've got. I think they are very, very similar and very, very evenly close matched. And it could come down to something small like England's tail or catches in the field.
Can I make a prediction in front of you all? Steve Harmison, Neil Manthorp, Scott Taylor and Katie. We're looking out onto the field and we can see some little Mitchells, some little Henrys, some little Blundells. And can I make a prediction that one of those will represent either the White Ferns or the Black Caps in about 18 to 20 years? So if I'm not around in that time, keep an eye out, and just remember I said it. Note that December the 1st, 2024.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Such
surprise,
is the way of cricket in this part of the world.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise. The massive family traditions in cricket, not just in New Zealand, but I think in all cricket, John, we do have it all running through our blood. It's such a niche sport that it does go down to father, to son, to daughter. And you're right. There's plenty of them out there. So you're taking a punt, and you're about 10-1 at this moment in time. But you're right. It's a long, long way off, because I think the oldest that's out there is about 3.5, 4 years old.
That's what I'm saying. Give it a good 16, 17 years. Let's hear from the England captain, Ben Stokes.
Ben, an 8-wicket win in this first test, a great start to the tour.
Yeah, really good. Very, very solid team performance. You look back at sort of early on day 2 when we were put under pressure by New Zealand, when we had the bat in hand. Being 40 for 3 is obviously not the start that you would want, but to be able to get up to 500 in our first innings and obviously have a nice healthy lead going into New Zealand's second innings with a bat was brilliant. But the way in which the bowlers ran in throughout the whole time that we were out in the field was fantastic. It was a real sort of input week, I think, especially that first innings. We didn't necessarily get the wickets with our best balls, but I think it was just a real good accumulation of pressure. And when you're putting pressure onto a batting lineup like we did, it's sometimes the balls that you don't necessarily think you're going to take wickets with gets them.
And I know Harry got the 100 and Brydon got 10 for in the match, but it seems everyone really chipped in this week, so how satisfying was that? Yeah,
really good. At the end of a game, when someone gets 180 and someone gets 10 for, they're the guys who are probably always going to get spoken about. But, it's the little phases of games, especially in Test cricket, where, Chris Stokes yesterday, those 2 wickets and 2 balls massively changed that game for us. Even Gus again, you get an early wicket with a great caught and bowled. Those small little things obviously add to the greater thing of trying to win the Test match. But Harry Brook and Brydon Carse were simply outstanding as individuals this week.
Yeah, you mentioned Chris Stokes. How pleasing was it for him? Because there's been a lot of external noise about his record away from home. So to go out and do what he did yesterday must have been really good.
Yeah, look, it's external noise. It's something that we certainly as a group don't try and focus on heavily too much. We know the skills and the attributes that Chris Stokes adds to any team that he's in. His ability with the new ball, his consistent line and length's always going to be making it hard for oppositions to score. And he didn't get any runs this week, but having Chris Stokes walking at number 8 is obviously going to add a huge amount of value to any team. So look, we know the skill that he possesses as a cricketer, and he's done a great job this week again.
And Brydon with his maiden 5-for and 10-for in the match. Obviously know him from Durham, but he must have a hell of a performance this week.
Yeah, look, I grew up with Brydon, seen him, make his way in the first class scene with Durham. Always known the skill and the ability that he possesses as a cricketer. So to see him transfer that over, obviously in Pakistan, but now into over here in different conditions in New Zealand is great. The wicket obviously had a little bit more in it than in Pakistan, and he certainly exposed that. So for him to walk off with 10 wickets there, especially with it being in a win, is obviously great for him. And obviously a massive confidence boost for him as well. And
it seems he thrives on that enforcer role, and he also thrives when you ask him to pitch it up as well. So how handy is it to have someone like that in your squad?
It's as a bowling unit, we really like a variable attack. So having someone like Brydon who possesses skills to be able to not only run in, bowl quick, but he can be the enforcer as you just said, but also he's took 10 wickets here, but you look at his economy rate as well, that's very, very impressive. So to have a bowler with his abilities to be able to play a completely 3, almost 4 different roles is massive.
And let's talk about your own form. You batted a little bit down the order this week, but nice feeling to get in the runs again.
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, again, coming in and sort of where the game was in the balance. For me, it was just about building a partnership with Brookie. Obviously, it's nice going in when Harry Brook's on, 80, and he's seeing the ball like a football. But yeah, having Brydon batting at number 10 obviously gives you a lot of confidence, knowing that you can take it deeper. But to be honest, I was looking to give those two the strike. Gus and Brydon came out and played absolute worldies. So that just adds, just proves the value of having guys who can bat all the way down the order. How much that adds to you being able to go on and make a big score. Just
a couple more. We saw you come off midway through your over. Everything okay? Just precautionary?
Yeah, more than anything, to be honest. It's been a pretty big week. Spent a lot of time in the field, bowled 20 overs, hurt my back diving for a ball. So, it's just sort of all mixed into one. A little bit stiff, but the position of the game that we were in, obviously we were on top. So, it was more precaution than anything. Didn't want to make anything worse than I needed to, so I'll be good for Wellington.
And you've added Ollie Robinson to the squad. You obviously know him from Durham. What can he bring to this Test side?
He's been incredible form for Durham. Since he made the move to us, he's been a huge part of Durham's success over the last couple of years. The way that he takes the game on with the bat fits perfectly into this team. He deserves to be here. His record for that speaks for itself. Obviously with Jamie currently back home with his partner waiting for the birth, I think it's a great opportunity for Ollie. And someone who fits into this team and its ethos perfectly well.
And I know Joe wouldn't want you to talk about it, but how fitting was it that Joe was at the crease at the end, 150th Test? I know Bethell took the headlines away from him there at the end.
Yeah, Joe, 150 Test matches is just a phenomenal effort. Just there's so much cricket, so much warm-ups as well. It's probably the worst part about it, to be honest.
So much fielding, you said to us.
Yeah. But look, he's been incredible. Obviously didn't get the runs. Well, he didn't get any runs in the first innings, but he just walks back into the dressing room there, and it's just not his day. And to have that, I don't know what the word is, just to have that self-belief in yourself that I'm going to get another go. I think it's infectious throughout the group. You look at young Jacob Bethel coming in and seeing Joe Root, just sort of be all right with it. But yeah, I love the way he went out there and played there in that situation. It's always tricky when you don't have too many runs to score. But yeah, it was good to see Joe finish there, and hopefully that can continue that form for the rest of the series.
Well done today. See you in Wellington.
Thanks, mate.
And Ben Stokes speaking with Scott Taylor, live or exclusively live to talkSport 2. A really good chat there, and it made sense that he stopped halfway through the over. I still think there's maybe something to come from this over the next 48 hours or so, but he did stay on the field, so it doesn't look terribly worrying. But yeah, he covered off pretty much most of the points that we've been discussing. And now England go to Wellington via a golf course or two, and they'll go again. It's quite rare for England to win series away from home. They were 1-0 up away at Pakistan. They lost that one 2-1. They were 1-0 up against New Zealand at the start of last year. We know how that one ended. So they will be absolutely determined not to slip up at either Wellington or Hamilton. Win either of those and they take the series.
Yeah, and there's no chance to draw with McCullum and Stokes unless it rains for 2 days. So if they go to Wellington, especially a place where they'll want to put last time the sort of wrong from last time right. Not quite getting over the line, but it was still a decent performance. Yeah, again, he spoke brilliantly, I thought, Ben, just talking honestly about the way the game went, and he seems encouraged about his own body. So that's the biggest concern for me going into into Wellington, because we all know when Ben doesn't play as a bowler, then there's huge ramifications for the balance and the rest of the side. If Ben's playing as a bowler, you've got Brydon Carse at number 10, and boy, that is a strong lineup. That's a difference between a 400 score and a 500 score, and that's shown in this game, and that's something I think New Zealand will have to come to terms with very, very quickly when they get to Wellington. And again, like I said before, I wouldn't change the way the makeup of the bowling attack, but potentially look at passages of play when Carson Atkinson comes in, who's actually bowling to them and how they bowl to them. If you get a chance to give O'Rourke half an hour off before Atkinson comes in to really be aggressive towards Atkinson and Carse, that's something from a game plan point of view I'd look to change when we get up to Wellington. Okay, Harmy, thanks so much for your time over the last 4 days. A big thanks to the rest of the commentary team here on talkSport 2 as well. Neil Manthorp, as well as Jeremy Coney, Chris Harris, Garth Galloway, Daniel McCarty, and all the team from Sport Nation who've helped us along the way. Frankie Mackay as well from TVNZ. But that does bring us to the end of our broadcast here at the Hagley Oval. It's been quite a test match. Thanks to the production team as well of Katie Hanscom and Scott Taylor. We've got a day off. I order you not to do anything tomorrow because we're going to be picking things up, and it's going to be a lot going on in the capital city of New Zealand. We're heading to windy Wellington. Hopefully the flight is calm. And if we're treated to anything like what we've seen, what are you pointing at, Harmy? You can speak. What a lovely picture. I mean, you think that one of these young kids is going to be a black cap or a white fur, and they're all getting their pictures taken, sitting on the boundary at the Hagley Oval. I mean, what a picture that is for the kids for the future. Well, and what a fitting way to end our broadcast as well. Thanks for listening to Following On via talkSport 2 or the talkSport Cricket YouTube channel. We will be back throughout the week with daily shows, fresh content, interviews and insight. But for now, thanks for listening or watching.